Hello everyone, we're here today at Rosslyn Park to bring the worlds of rugby and cricket together. We're working with Maro Itoje and Buttler to understand a little bit more about them, their physical and mental well-being, their routines, their habits, their leadership, their challenges, their setbacks, all bringing you closer to world-class athletes. So wherever you are, please do sit back, relax and enjoy.
What other things in terms of well-being or the mental side of the game are important and things that you sort of feel have real value to you for your sort of your healthy habits?
Yeah, for me it comes all down to preparation. And I think the higher the level you play, the more important the mental side of the game is, because as you reach certain levels, everyone is in shape, everyone is fit, everyone is strong. So those differences become less and less. I think the key differences at that level is perhaps the mental side of the game, how you can concentrate, how you can apply yourself, how you can stick to plan. And for me, that's always an evolving process throughout the week. It's how you prepare, I do a lot of visualization in the week about my role, what I'm going to do, what I have to do for the team. I do a lot of what if scenario planning, what if they do that, what if they do this. So if they do those things in the game, you can just switch into those different plans a bit more easily. Take a lot of confidence from my teammates in terms of how they prepare, how they're getting ready, how they respond when the pressure is on.
How much of that is say like a group focus or like your individuals, as like you get huge buy-ins? Obviously preparation, like you say, the top level sports is a given, isn't it? But sort of you still have different characters within that, some who like immense amount of detail and some who like a little bit less, or how much is you get the buy-in from everyone?
I think it's a mix. Like for me, one of my areas in the game that I tend to lead on is the line out. So when things go wrong or things go well in the line out, it's is not really on anyone else. Obviously they can throw their thoughts in, but it's for me to make the decision and for me to figure out what's going on and lead the team in that area. But for other aspects of the game which involve the whole team, I think you very much do need a team buy-in, and especially with things like pressure, like when you're in the pressure moment, or when you're faced in a scenario where your backs are against the wall for a little bit, and you need the team to stay together, because if the team doesn't stay together, then ultimately it breaks and you fall apart and lose whatever you're trying to achieve. So all those sorts of areas definitely involve, and from my experience anyway, a team buy-in. But I guess it's in rugby, one of the great things about rugby is that everyone has their own role, and most of the role is different from others. I saw someone say, I can't remember who it was, I saw someone say, and a lot of people do say this, I never asked my teammates to do anything that I wasn't willing to do. But I actually think in a rugby context, that's perhaps a little bit wrong, because rugby is a game that is dependent on your teammates doing things that you can't do. And that's, I think, one of the key things about rugby and being in a team, is that I have my strength here, but I can't do that very well. But he does that very well, but he can't do this very well. And I think teams are constantly asking their teammates within the team to do things they can't do. And how strong that is and how bound that is together will ultimately decide how successful a team is.
What about setbacks and when times get challenging? I suppose both of you, maybe it might be an example personally or a team thing that you went through. So how do you try and manage those situations?
Yeah, I think for me, whenever I've gone through a tough period, I think having perspective is always so important. And the reason for that is often in life, probably most of the time in life, things are never as good or never as bad as they seem. So when you're on top, when you're playing really well, and things are going your way, more often than not, it's not as good as you think. And conversely, when things are going badly, or the team's not doing well, you're not doing well, is never as bad as that either. And in reality, you're always probably somewhere in the middle. And having that perspective, I think, is helpful. It's helpful for me, and I guess it gives, and having the mentality to think like that also regulates the way I think and the way I prepare, because ultimately, playing sport there's a lot of highs and lows, but if you just allow your emotions to be on the roller coaster of high and low, it's a roller coaster, and you have no control over your emotions. And that's, for me, that's not a way to have any sort of stability in how I prepare or how I want to be on a day-to-day basis. So the key thing is always having perspective. Then I guess it's trying to rectify whatever the issue is. It's being honest with yourself, being honest with the team, or being honest with the coaches or whoever is you need to talk to in the environment about finding the problems, diagnosing the issues, and then coming up with a plan thereafter.
So Vitality are very much a next generation insurer, always forward thinking and trying to do things a little bit differently, or the next innovation. Throughout your career, sort of what have you seen happen in rugby and the way it's changed? And what do you think is next? What else is there that people will do to get an edge or be the next innovation in the game?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because just thinking back to when I first started playing rugby professionally, and it's not even that far ago, but in terms of the speed of the game, the pace of the game, the power of the athletes today, it's miles ahead of what I did at the start of my career in 2012 or 13. So the game is constantly evolving. There's better training techniques, there's better recovery techniques. Guys are getting bigger, faster, stronger. I just alluded to it earlier. There's these young kids coming straight from school who are massive already. So the great thing about sport, and I think it's the same across all sports, is that it's constantly improving, constantly looking to innovate, and the team that finds that edge the quickest is they get a head start on the rest. So in rugby, especially from what I've seen, has been the difference in how people are recovering, a difference in how people are training and preparing for games. But what have been the differences that you've seen in your game?
Physically, the game is very different. The level of fielding is so much better now. I spoke about rugby and the athletes now, the way the guys move, the catching standards, sort of the boundary catches around the rope, people jumping over, catching it, throwing it to their mate who's running round as well. That's sort of become a bit commonplace in a way. And I guess as well, the sort of innovation in the way batters score everywhere now. This, as a captain or as a bowler, it's horrible. You just don't have enough fielders now. Everyone can hit the ball in sort of 360 degrees around the field, and somehow you have to deal with that. So say sort of when I started, 10, 12 years ago, there'd be maybe a handful of guys who were like that, and it was a big rep, this guy's innovative, and sort of now you're well, everyone does that, so what's next? I'm not sure, actually. I think maybe almost a bit more buy-in to the future from the players. I think sometimes, I don't know what it's like in rugby, but sort of data and analytics come in and the sort of, the wrong thing is that as if they know everything and sort of, these are the numbers, you must go out and play, and this is, they forget you're human, right? And sort of like, I've got to work with this player and communicate what that actually means, and it might be doing it in a different way that, you know, this guy, you know, questions data or so, to sell it in a different angle, sort of that kind of thing. What about maybe captaincy aspirations for yourself? Do you see yourself as a captain, or you do that naturally anyway? Obviously leadership is a big part of your role.
Yeah, I think leadership is something that I'm interested in, and it's something that I think ultimately I have to do now, even though I'm not captain. You know, I think especially as you get older and you see the influence that you have on other members of the team, and you know, I want to be the type of player that when people play with, they feel more confident just because I'm there. And I think that's all part of the journey, so who knows.
One day hopefully, right? That'd be cool.